Today we're talking about RV trailers. I've seen way too many new campers fall into the trap of buying a massive rig, thinking more features equals better camping. But just a few trips in, the reality hits. Half those gadgets are already collecting dust. That extra weight turns towing into a white-knuckle nightmare. And with today's prices, don't even get me started. Honestly, it needs to stop. That's why I've curated a list of the best RV trailers that focus on what you actually need, not just flashy brochure features. Let's go! After years of towing overloaded rigs, you start appreciating how much easier camping gets when the trailer isn't fighting you. The Mink Campers 2.0, a teardrop-style camper from Iceland, strips things down to what actually matters. At around 520 kilograms, it tows behind small cars and even EVs without breaking a sweat. That low weight isn't just a spec on paper. It means less fuel consumption, less strain on your vehicle, and far less stress when you're navigating tight campsites. Inside, two adults sleep comfortably on a proper queen memory foam mattress, and the diesel heating system keeps things genuinely warm in cold weather, not just mild spring nights. The rear slide-out kitchen works well enough for simple meals, though it's exposed to the elements, which will bother some campers. What you're really getting here is a lightweight, winter-capable camper that handles the essentials reliably. There are no extra systems that tend to fail at the worst possible times. In my view, that trade-off is absolutely worth making. Most campers don't realize how much of their setup anxiety comes from the trailer itself. Too many systems to check, too much weight to manage, too many things that can go wrong before you even reach the campsite. The Raidhoo Tundra from Norway takes a different approach, and where it really stands out is reliability in genuinely harsh conditions. This is a camper built around Nordic winters. Proper insulation, weather-tight construction, and a body that handles snow, gravel, and cold temperatures without asking much from you in return. At around 740 to 750 kilograms, virtually any SUV or mid-size car can tow it comfortably, and the stable highway handling makes long drives feel manageable rather than nerve-wracking. There's a solid fixed queen bed for couples, and a rear kitchen that covers everyday cooking needs well enough. That said, the payload sits around 100 kilograms, so heavy gear loadouts aren't really in the cards. But for a couple wanting a dependable, cold-weather-capable camper without overcomplicating things, the Tundra earns its place on this list. There's a specific kind of frustration that comes from owning a trailer packed with features that still somehow can't handle the terrain you actually want to camp on. And that's where a lot of overbuilt rigs quietly fail. The Hardkorr Xplorer is a different conversation entirely. This is an Australian-built hybrid camper designed around one question: what do you actually need when you're genuinely far from help? The answer here is serious suspension, real off-grid power, 510 watts of solar, dual batteries, a proper inverter, and a setup that goes from road to camp in under 5 minutes. The slide-out kitchen and queen bed cover the livability basics without wasted space, and the 3,900 liters of storage means you're not playing Tetris every time you pack. I've already covered lightweight simplicity earlier in this video, but the Explorer earns its place for a different reason. It's built for remote use where reliability isn't optional. Fair warning though, you'll need a capable 4x4 to tow it comfortably. One thing you learn pretty quickly with traditional trailers is that seams, joints, and layered construction are just future leak points waiting to happen. And once water gets in, the repair bills start piling up fast. The Escapod TOPO 2 sidesteps that problem entirely with a one-piece composite fiberglass shell, which means no seams, no rust, and no wondering whether last night's rain found a way inside. That kind of build quality matters more on long trips than any extra gadget ever will. It's also surprisingly capable off-road for something under 2,000 pounds. The independent suspension and proper all-terrain tires handle rough trails without beating up your tow vehicle. Inside, the queen memory foam mattress with over 42 inches of headroom is genuinely comfortable, not just comfortable for a teardrop. And the rear galley covers real cooking needs. The honest trade-off is price. You're spending $35,000 to $45,000 for this level of craftsmanship. But for a 4-season boondocking camper built to last, that's a reasonable ask. Wood rot. canvas tears, and cheap insulation that gives out after 2 winters. That's the maintenance cycle a lot of camper owners know too well, and it usually traces back to manufacturers cutting corners on materials to hit a price point. The off-grid trailer's Pondo 3.0 addresses that directly with an all-metal build, no wood framing, no canvas panels, nothing that degrades quietly between trips. What's worth highlighting here specifically is the livability side, because this trailer actually delivers where many compact off-roaders cut corners. You get a Truma furnace for real heating, on-demand hot water, a proper 57-liter fridge/freezer, and a queen mattress with solid insulation throughout. That's a genuinely comfortable setup in a trail-capable package that a capable SUV can still tow. The articulating hitch also handles uneven terrain without the white-knuckle moments you get from cheaper couplers. The honest limitation is weight. At 2,200 pounds, you'll need a real tow vehicle, not just any crossover. For serious 4-season campers, though, this one's hard to argue with. A lot of campers who ride motorcycles or bring ATVs end up towing 2 separate rigs, one for gear, one for sleeping, because most trailers force you to choose between hauling toys and actually camping comfortably. The Mission Overland Trail Dog solves that with a layout that genuinely earns the dual-use label. A rear ramp enclosure that fits bikes or ATVs during the day converts into sleeping space for a group of 4 at night, with a proper pop-up roof adding 85 inches of standing height. That's practical thinking rather than feature stacking. The kitchen covers the essentials: Truma fridge, 2-burner stove, sink, on-demand hot water, without overcomplicating things, and the insulated aluminum walls hold temperature well in cold conditions. At around 2,180 pounds dry, a mid-size SUV handles it reasonably well on trail. The honest caveat is space. Sleeping 4 adults works, but it's snug, and the 31-gallon water supply limits longer off-grid stretches without modifications. For power sports campers specifically, though, this layout makes more sense than anything else on this list. Something I've noticed with a lot of fixed layout trailers is that people outgrow them fast. What worked for a solo trip doesn't work for a couple, and what worked for weekends doesn't work for 2-week runs. And then they're stuck with something that doesn't quite fit anymore. The Kuckoo Camper Max from Germany approaches this differently, and its real strength is adaptability. The interior uses airline rails, so you can reconfigure storage and layout between trips. The mattress folds into a seating position during the day, and an optional pop-up roof adds sleeping space for 2 more when needed. At 420 to 550 kilograms unladen, it tows behind small cars and EVs without drama, one of the lightest options on this entire list. The pull-out kitchen is sheltered enough to use in light rain, which is a small but genuinely useful detail. The trade-off is that there's no built-in plumbing or bathroom. You're sourcing that separately. For flexible, low-commitment camping, though, this one covers the fundamentals without locking you into anything. There's a version of comfort camping that means a massive rig loaded with appliances you spend half the trip maintaining. And then there's a version that just means sleeping well, eating properly, and not wrestling with your setup every morning. The Goldfields Escape Pod falls firmly in the second category. This Australian-built pod camper keeps the footprint manageable while actually delivering on comfort. A near-queen mattress, diesel heating, 300 amp hours of lithium power, and a well-organized outdoor kitchen with a proper slide-out fridge. The independent trailing arm suspension handles corrugated outback roads without rattling everything loose. And at 1,330 kilograms tear, it tows without needing a heavy-duty rig. Storage is genuinely well thought out. Front compartments, fold-down table, awning with lighting, the kind of layout that makes a 2-week trip feel organized rather than chaotic. The honest limitation is payload. This isn't the trailer for hauling heavy expedition gear on top of your camping kit. But for a couple wanting real comfort on remote trips, it's a strong package. Most campers assume that choosing between comfort and capability means accepting a trade-off. Either you get a plush trailer that struggles off-road, or a tough one that feels Spartan to sleep in. The Stockman Rover 2.0 is worth mentioning here because it genuinely challenges that assumption. The sleeping setup is a proper 160mm sprung queen mattress with optional AC and diesel heating, not roughing it by any stretch. And the rear flip-up kitchen with a slide-out fridge tray and full burner setup handles real cooking without wasted movement. The independent coil spring suspension with dual shocks keeps it stable on corrugated dirt roads where cheaper trailers start shaking things apart. and towing stability gets consistent praise from owners running it with 4x4s. Where it's honest about its limits is payload. Heavy families loading up expedition gear will feel the constraint. But for two people who want genuine off-road access without sacrificing sleep quality or a functional kitchen, the Rover 2.0 sits in a practical sweet spot that few trailers at this size actually hit.